Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Office Hours. It is Friday. We have an exciting panel assembled today to answer some awesome questions. It's a big one today, so get them in. But we've got a couple already lined up on deck, so let's get right into it. Alexander?
First one this morning is coming from Harold Williams in Portsmouth. I'm thinking of studying Zoom Webinar as a broadcast tool, but I'm running into a lot of people at my house of worship that use Teams in their workplaces. What's the difference between them?
Ronnie?
Well, we have some clients that use Teams, and of course, sometimes you just have to. If you have the option to start using Zoom, there are so many reasons. Let me just start. It's better picture, it's better frame rate. You have enhanced media that can give you even higher bit rate and even better video quality and even 60 frames per second. And then you have all these peripherals or tools that is surrounding the environment that Zoom is creating. One of the tools is called zoomiso. One of the other is mimoLive. And you have Vmix, and you have other digital software-based image mixers that can actually just pull down all these pictures and create whatever you would like to in a graphical interface, just like you see here on Office Hours sometimes. And you have other tools like Zoom OSC, which makes it easy to control everything in that meeting using, for instance, a Stream Deck. You have tools like Graphics Toolkit, which can create all the interactions, the thumbs up, the hearts, etc., and bring that back into the broadcast as graphic overlays. And you have something like Zoom Tiles, which can actually just create a lot of cool gallery views that are dynamic. So if you have a lot of people joining your webinar, you can even put them into the stage area, or if you use Zoom meeting, you can put them on the stage and have them participate as a viewer, but have their camera on, and you can create these beautiful layouts or grids with a lot of people that you can show either to the people in your venue, where if it's a hybrid production, or you can show it on LED screens or displays, or you can return it back into the stream if you like to, or you can put that into the image switcher. So I think you get the gist of it. Using something like Teams for broadcast is, in my opinion, I won't say the word. You should just dig into Zoom and join After Hours and continue asking questions here in Office Hours. You will have a lot of opinions, of course, but Zoom is definitely the way to go.
Alexander?
Yeah, I agree for everything Ronnie said too. And the cool thing, so Zoom ISO is a product that Ronnie mentioned there. So the latest version, this is really truly a dedicated production tool. So what it is effectively a way of logging into a meeting and pulling isolated video and audio from each participant. And then you can do things like the new version. It's currently still in beta, but it's very robust. It allows you to do things like, for example, ISO record your participants. So you can ISO record. You can even select different types of codecs, whether it's the more compressed H.265, or you can even do high quality ProRes LT. So if you want the absolute best possible video quality to take it into your nonlinear editor to edit it later, that's definitely a tool you should look at. And the cool thing, now some things have changed in terms of the licensing, and I'll just go over that quickly because you're probably new to this. So in the past, to be able to use Zoom ISO, you had to. It actually cost quite a bit more money than it does now. So the new thing is now, if you have at least one license for a Zoom business meeting and you buy the enhanced media add-on, I think each of those, like one license that I think is $25 US, and then enhanced media is another $25. So you're going to spend about $50 a month. But that's, for me, that is the most cost-effective way to access these tools now. And once you assign an enhanced media license in your Zoom account, you can just download this tool and use it. It's really, really awesome. I've started playing with it recently, and it has all sorts of advanced functions too. Like you can stream the video out of that computer over protocols like NDI over your network. You can also use SRT, and then you can basically take those video streams and put it into another production tool, whether it's Vmix, whether it's mimoLive, and then just do the production in those tools and add your graphics and assemble it the way you want. So you're going to unlock a whole new powerful world of and this is going to just really up your game in terms of production if you want to do really, really high-end stuff.
The other thing that's worth noting is that when you're the meeting quality is determined by the host of the meeting. So you don't need to add every single contributor needing to be that enhanced media. If you want the 1080 at 60 with the enhanced bitrate, all you need is the host of the meeting to have that enhanced media add-on, and it elevates the entire meeting to that level, which if you're doing this all the time, if this is a key core part of your job, it makes it it makes it a no-brainer. And even just in non-production settings, I have found that the enhanced media add-on makes the better frame rate has an enhanced immediacy to it. Like it's one of those things that's very like lower brain subliminal. We don't know why the meeting just feels better. But it definitely is one of those things that makes the technology get out of the way and gets us back to what we're actually trying to do, which is communicate to each other, or in a broadcast sense, communicate to a large audience. Chris?
This is the way Microsoft wins. So I'm pretty sure everybody on this panel will tell you that Zoom is a more powerful tool, but Teams is the more ubiquitous tool. And it's the more ubiquitous tool because IT professionals around the country are taught to push people toward their safe Microsoft products. Nobody ever got fired telling somebody to buy a Windows machine or Microsoft OS. It's safe. And this is my biggest beef with Zoom. Zoom is a great product. It's a really good tool. Like everybody said, all the broadcast tools are important. But like you said, Harold, you're dealing with pushback from people that are indoctrinated into a Windows mindset. Well, they already use Teams, and they say it's the same thing. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. Zoom versus Teams in 2026 is very much like Macintosh versus Windows in 1996. It's the same battle that they have. And Zoom has to get better at this. They have to get better at dealing with the IT people and assuring them that it's, just as safe as Teams, et cetera, et cetera. It's a political, not Republican, Democrat. It's like a political battle, not a technical battle. They win hands down, technically. But nobody cares because they see Teams and they go, well, it's the same thing. Anybody who says Teams and Zoom is the same thing, it's like going back to 1996 and having, Courtney tell me that Windows is the same as Microsoft, Macintosh. It's not. It's totally different.
And anybody the nice thing though is if it's for a production that you're controlling, it's not hard to dictate that, hey, we're going to use Zoom for this. Anybody who's a working professional in a given week is in a Zoom meeting and a Teams meeting and a WebEx and a Google Meet.
That's not true. That's not true, CJ. That's not true because I work with companies all the time whose employees say, we can't use Zoom. Our IT blocked it out of our machines. We can't use Zoom. It has to be on Teams. And it happens all the time.
If somebody has to, their quality is not going to be as good, but if somebody has to join from a web browser, they can join from a web browser.
But they don't care. And no, the web page is blocked by their IT department. They don't care about the quality. To them, it's exactly that. To their IT people, it's like, just use Teams. It's the same thing as Zoom.
Yeah, and
I hear it all the time. And Zoom has to fight that battle.
Yeah, and it's a really,
give us more frames,
battle.
Give us higher resolutions, give us more ISOs. But if you don't fight that battle, you won't win.
And the best thing that you can do if you're passionate about this and you're at the point on the food chain where you can dictate, push it where it matters and explain why it matters to people. And little by little, hopefully you can help drive that conversation. Liberty?
Chris, I appreciate the angle that you just came from, because I was thinking too, for you, Harold, thinking about because this is really now more than it is technical, it is the people that you're dealing with and their adoption. And when I was thinking about this question and listening to all the great answers, the idea of scalability and like user tech support and any support that you all would need in implementing this. How quickly can you, where are there repositories for training or going online to see what you might, if there are bugs that happen, if things crash, where do you go for that support? Because it's one thing to say, hey, I want a Bugatti, but what's the upkeep of the Bugatti versus, okay, I'm just going to go with a Lexus. Probably not the greatest example, but you see where I'm going. So that may be something else that you want to think through, in addition to what Chris just said of, what sword are you going to die on, knowing that there's a user education that comes into play as well.
Chris.
So 2 things to respond to Fenwick. One, it's super rich, a Mac guy complaining about Windows people being indoctrinated. I'll just leave that there. So the other thing is, I think where you talk, I think Zoom's problem is that they are trying to compete with Zoom. Like they're trying to compete with Teams. They keep adding these things that compete with Teams, so it puts it in the same box as Teams. And so they're like, well, it does the same stuff. Why do I need this? I think it would actually be a stronger argument if it was like, it does this one thing and it does it so much better. And I've had these conversations in the IT world when we talk about, like, are we going with the product that does everything we need to do, but maybe not super well, or are we going to go with the 5 different products, each that is the best of breed in its particular category? And I think that's something that Zoom has gone to the approach of, we're gonna compete with Teams and we're gonna do all these things, and we have Zoom docs and all this stuff that it's not at its core, and yeah, so that's
and I'm in the middle right now of trying to push my organization and a couple others into using Zoom more and more for the workplace collaboration stuff. And I will say, it is, the more of those extra features you're using, the easier it is to say, okay, I'm going to live in one pane of glass or another. The one thing I think that underlines all of this, though, for us from a media and production perspective, is that even though there are all of the scalability and work, like they want to get to a bigger market, they want to scale. So they're going to have a team that's wanting to add all of these, single pane of glass workplace functionality where you can use Zoom as your email client, as your workspace reservations, as your, hard phone, like your desk phone provider. But they're still willing to invest in the kind of stuff that we get on the production side, where we see tools like integration into software switchers, zoomiso, the liminal tools, et cetera. So it's not a one or the other, but it is definitely some challenges that you have to navigate. Courtney?
Yeah, I also think, Zoom is trying to work their way back, but it kind of, as far as security goes, IT administrators are going to, opt for the Teams every time, because they can provision all the machines in the enterprise, themselves with the provisioning tools that Microsoft 365, that whole ecosystem offers. And Zoom, it's going to require a lot more manual configuration of each person, and so it's kind of fiddly, which is why they don't really like to use the Zoom, even though the quality may be, a lot better, and it's can deliver broadcast quality graphics as opposed to just video communications between
the best thing that we did, and we've got an organization with maybe 200 or 300 users, is that we do have M365. That is our environment, and we were able to set up SAML, the single sign-on, with people log into Zoom with their same credentials as they use for Microsoft, and then we on the admin side can do the role-based rule provisioning in a way that thankfully we don't have to go into every user. We were literally able to import our roles, import our users, set the right permissions. But yeah, you are having to do that in a second system. But that's not that different from companies who use Microsoft alongside a phone tool like RingCentral, or alongside a Maps app or a Salesforce. There's as part of, as you grow in an enterprise, you're going to have to integrate with multiple tools. And for the most part, they actually play pretty nicely together. So I know we went a little off into scaling there, but or into the enterprise section. But if your video and audio quality matters, Zoom's a no-brainer. Next question.
This one's coming from the QR code, Sebastian Jimenez in Tampa Bay, Florida. When using Zoom ISO to bring participants in a Zoom meeting to the main Zoom meeting, how do you send back the gallery and the chat from the main Zoom meeting back to them?
Ronnie.
I'm sorry, my picture is all weird. So you will see the top of my head. I'm not sure.
Do you watch Home Improvement? Just sidebar.
I have no idea. This is the Insta360. I hit a hotkey or something, and everything was crazy. Let me just emphasize on the answer. So Zoom ISO is normally used for one thing at our organization, and that is to pipe out video and audio to a hardware platform. So what I mean by that is that we take those image signals and audio signals, and we mix that in audio mixers, and we mix that in external video mixers, and then we compose everything and send that back into the meeting or stream that we need to be using. So that is the quick answer for that.
Guy?
Yeah. A lot of folks do it this way. Well, they'll have a stage that's the meeting, and then it'll go in. So you're sending your Zoom ISO output. So your talent is all on the stage in one meeting, and then you push that in. So the question is, how do I get this back into here? One of the ways that we do it is with Zoom Rooms. So with Zoom Rooms and NDI, you could do something like this where you say view, and then with the view you see, you can do speaker, thumbnail, or gallery. And once you hit NDI, you could say add output, and you have this gallery view here. And now After Hours is going to get an alert that I just turned on NDI. So this is a controller for the web. So if you have a Zoom room, anybody in the world could activate this controller, and you can either pin people. So like right now, there's Paul's in there, and I could pin Paul, and I could pin him on a certain output. And so now when I turn my camera on inside of that meeting, I could send back a gallery view or a speaker timer or a teleprompter. So there's the by the way, people will get an alert that says that. So now if I turn on my camera, you would see right now I have, this is me right here, this ZR2 and ZR1. So what I do is I send a Zoom room in, and in this case, I could throw anything in there. I could, if you wanted the chat, you could put the chat through Zoom Graphics Toolkit. You just basically have a computer here that you could send in, but you could send in 4 inputs at once. So that's really cool, is to use a Zoom room. So you not only just send one in, you send in your gallery, you send in your chat, you send in PowerPoint, you send in whatever you need. So $49 a month, I think, for a Zoom room, and then a computer to run it on. That's how we do it, is we send Zoom rooms, and we have multiple, so we could send 8 cameras back into a meeting if we need to, but we call it a bridge. We bridge from one meeting to the other, so we're pulling chat, and we've developed some custom tools in case there's like 4 other meetings that we need to push, because of limits, you can push multiple Zoom rooms into multiple meetings and then return it all back, so the talent can see all the different heads and all the different people and see all the chat.
Chris?
Yeah, Guy, this works the same, basically exactly the same in Teams, right? It's just exactly the same, right? It's because they're the same thing, right? Yeah, that's all I have.
Not really.
And Ronnie, the full face of Ronnie.
Yeah, so you have, of course, a lot of other options instead of using Zoom ISO. So I'm wondering what the reason why we would be set on using Zoom ISO. There are many other ways to achieve these things. For instance, using something like mimoLive or even Vmix. You can use that software switcher and use only that software switcher to connect directly to the Zoom meeting, and then ingest all the videos and all the audio that you need, compose it the way you would like it, or do 2 ups or 4 ups or 5 ups, or include the graphics and presentations, whatever you would like to do. And you can also mix the audio individually. So from then you can return that program back into the Zoom room or into other rooms. And Mimo, for instance, has this direct connection to Zoom, and it also have a lot of output options. So you can output those different types of compositions to different Zoom instances as well, using image transport like Siphon on the same machine, and just have multiple clients connected to different rooms. So there are so many ways of doing it. I suggest you just go into after hours after this broadcast and ask a little bit around. I will be there and happily answer questions regarding this strategy.
Next question.
Next question's from the QR code. Roger Martin in Tonto Basin, Arizona asks, Vmix instance requires direct attached graphics with virtual display support, shadow.tech GPU pass-through technology to provide directly attached graphics. Does this meet the requirements? Thanks.
Chris?
Now, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I believe it should be fine. Vmix doesn't have a hard requirement where, like, if you don't have a graphics card, replay won't run. It just won't work well. And so your best bet is to test, right? You fire up an instance on shadow.tech and see if it works. And I think it should be fine.
Next question.
This is one of my questions. I installed zoomiso v3, haven't used SRT before. Wanted to test it with mimoLive version 6.18 beta 1 as it supports SRT ingest. Anyone get it working? Does the ISO have to be set to caller and mimo to listener? Both apps are on the same computer.
Go ahead, Guy.
I tested it in V2, so basically you could do SRT out. So you basically have with V3 the same type of thing. Sorry, I didn't have time to set this all up, but basically you could say your output device. Actually, I guess it's not there in output devices. I don't remember I don't know where they moved it. Oh, NDI and SRT. So basically the gist is if you're on the same machine, it's going to be 127.0.0.1 and then a port number. So let's say the port number is 5000, and yeah, you would set up one is the caller, one is the listener, and then it could be either way. One's you can think of it as send and receive. And I haven't gotten a chance to play with it in mimoLive, but in version 2, I would set like 9001, 9002, 9003, and it would send out 3 feeds of SRT from zoomiso v2 to my destination. So it works. It's just a matter of setting it up. And if you're going externally, you do have to open up some ports on your router. So the person on the other side needs to, well, one person needs to have the ports open if you're going external across the internet to use SRT.
And Andy Carluccio in chat gives us his answer for this. So SRT caller v listener is not the same as sender v receiver. It's a pairing mode. So regardless, since both apps are on the same system, you can use Siphon and save a ton of processing overhead, so no need to compress to H.264. Just send it to another app on the same device to have it decode, and they can just have the same shared raw frames. Ronnie?
Yeah, so how often is Andy joining the conversation and taking the word out of my mouth? I was just about to say that, but I will also say another thing. I've seen problems using SRT in a test environment where I have the same both the sender and the receiver on the same machine. I would just do a small test. Just try to do that from another machine in your network, and then, as Guy said, try to use it from the outside and see. But if you are, there's no point of doing this, by the way. What you are testing, I'm pretty sure it's just for testing. But if you're going to do some kinky stuff on the same machine, I would just use Siphon. That's much easier, and it's very stable and doesn't use a resource. There's no resource increase, so just do it. But test that on the different machines. I think there could be some problems running both both sender and receiver on the same machine.
Hey, speaking of quirky stuff, Chris.
Weird segue. It's kind of freaking me out that Andy's listening. I want you to know, Andy, I love you very much, and I love Zoom, and I don't want you to think that anything I have said has anything negative. I want you guys to do even better. I was the one who told Brandon he needed to hire you, so I'm on your side. Just, you got to fight all the battles, not just the technical ones.
Alexander.
So I wasn't sure if I was doing this right, but in the SRT output settings, so for the destination IP address, I put the internal IP address of that computer, the real IP address. So I don't know if that's the issue there.
That would work. That would work as well.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. And then I think I'm dealing with another bug though too, because mimoLive defaults. I don't know, for whatever reason, the SRT ingest, it defaults to port 9000, and a zoomiso defaults to port 2000. So I went into Mimo and I changed it to port 2000, and it still says it's connecting to port 9000. So I think that might be just a bug, or I'm not sure what it's doing in the back end because I don't have any logs that show what it's trying to do. So anyways, I'll keep banging away at it. I just wanted to ask. I'm sure I'll get it working.
Next question.
All right, next one is coming up from Jack Cannon, Phoenix, Arizona. What are folks thinking of the recent Logic updates? Also, do people still use Logic, or have they switched over to other digital audio workstations at this point?
You know, it's interesting. I don't have any high-end use cases for a DAW, but every time I open Logic, I'm reminded that it is way too heavy iron of a tool for what I'm trying to do. And I know that if you have the use case that supports it, and that's the tool that helps you get the output on the other side, then hey, you're all good. But if somebody is an expert in Pro Tools and needs the plugins that Pro Tools brings along with it, there's a lot of I don't even want to say technical debt. There's a lot of mental, like, I would have to switch my method of working and try to learn a new tool. And if you're ingrained in something, it makes that pretty sticky. Chris? Can't hear you, Chris.
I was going to say, Jack, I saw your Box Canyon video. Awesome. Really well done. Don't be too swayed too quickly. Like, oh, update, it's horrible, it's run. You know, I've seen this way too many times. And in some cases, costing people tens of thousands of dollars. There was a time, anyway, plenty of people are using Logic, Jack. Plenty of people are using Logic. It's okay. You're good.
And Norm Claire in the chat says Logic 10, especially for ambisonic and Atmos mixing. Next question.
This one's from David Brady, New York City, New York. At the House of Worship I manage, I'm still using a 2015 iMac for stream management, etc. Getting approved for a new machine, so the question is, should I stay on the iMac platform or move over to a Mini?
Ronnie.
This is a very personal. I would get 2 Mac Minis. Then you have 3 displays you can drive from each of these Mac Minis, kind of as a minimum, and they are 4K and all that. And you can even run the minimum installation depending on what you're going to do. And of course, if you're going to need a more powerful one with a Pro CPU as well, or the Pro version, you also get Thunderbolt 5, and you get some more bus capacity in total on that single machine. Of course, the price is going up, but it's so tiny, it's so powerful, and I'm pretty sure, Brady, you have a lot of keyboards, mice, and display laying around, so there should be no problem.
Chris.
If this is a production tool meant to be in one place, I would go with the Mini route. If this is something that needs to look pretty, like, you can pay the extra price and have it look pretty. If it's something that maybe you need to move from place to place occasionally, that also makes it a little easier having it kind of in the all-in-one. But if it's a tool and it's just doing a thing and it's going to sit on a shelf or in a cabinet, the Mini is more bang for your buck.
And if you're able to get by, you're just getting to the edge of your usability with an 11-year-old computer. Raw power isn't the thing that's driving it here. It's really how does it fit into your system. So I'm also with these guys about I like the ability to choose where am I going to put it, if I need it to be in a different screen, if I need it to not have a screen at all and just be a virtual headless box. The Mini gives me more flex. I've got 3 or 4 of them sitting in front of me now. You can kind of plug them in to all these specific use cases, whereas an iMac, you're always going to have that 24-inch screen guy.
Yeah, I just did this at a local house of worship. They wanted to replace a 2019 Intel iMac, and we were looking for a Mac Studio, but it was just kind of out of their budget. They run Wirecast and 5 or so PTZs and a controller. And they went down to the local Apple store and picked up a blue one with 24 gigs of RAM. I took it out of the box and set it up, and it just had a feel to it, like this belonged here. Like the all-in-one integrated. There's something about a black monitor with a box and some cords. It just felt at home there because it was already an iMac. And for the operators, the volunteers, there's just something about having it. Sometimes it's not about the power and all of that, because I have multiple Mac Minis, and they just feel like very utility, like this is get stuff done. And that one, it feels like it blends into that environment. So just be aware of if you're going to be the one sitting at it, or you got people that need to feel a certain way, the aesthetic is certainly a nice touch.
Yeah, and if it is if it's somewhere that's visible, there is a certain, like, where do you see iMacs? Most of the time you see them in the lobby of the doctor's office or the hotel, because they're trying to give a feeling. And the other thing is, if it's something that's being attended to by volunteers and you have multiple people coming in, the simpler you can make the solution, the less things there are to plug in and potentially be unplugged and have to troubleshoot, the more that you're going to be able to help them. If you get the phone call, hey, such and such isn't working, you don't have to do quite as much explaining. So there's definitely a use case for both. Let us know how you do. Hey, we've got so much going on today. The chat is buzzing. The panel is great. And if you're just watching us on YouTube, you might be missing half the show. So we're live every day in Makana. So if you go to officehours.global/join, sign up for the email list there, you'll see every time we're going to be on air. And once you're in Makana, you can actually get not only into the live chat where there's a lot of conversation happening around the show, but also you can vote on the questions so that so that you can help us figure out what we're going to focus on. And also you can chat with the other producers, ask questions. It's a really great community. And if you go to the page on a computer, the video is right in the middle of all the interface. So definitely check it out, officehours.global/join. We'd love to see you in the community. Next question.
All right, this question has come from Chris Abato in Albany, Oregon. I need a case for an ESP32 project I'm working on. Is there a place I can pay someone to model one I can 3D print?
Chris.
Yeah, so I've got this little ESP32 device. It's a little tiny thing. It's got a network port on one side and a serial port on another. And I need a case to put it in, and I would really like someone to just model it for me so I can print it.
The creator among us, Courtney, you've always got a couple Crealities laying around. What do you got?
Yeah, well, I would say, first of all, look for, go to Thingiverse, because they've got a lot of ESP32 project boxes. They're already, and they're free to download. So, and you can download the OBJ files and modify them. And then if you need something a little more custom, I'd say try Tinkercad, because the thing about 3D printing, it's a matter of iteration. Somebody could design something for you, but then you decide that, it would be better if that port was on the other side. And so then you make a version 2. And see, this is version 2 of a switch box I designed in Tinkercad. And, it's so easy to use Tinkercad. It's free to use. It's from Autodesk. It brings your, it's a Boolean type design tool so that you add and remove things. Add and subtract. There's solids. You bring in your solid primitives like a square, and then you subtract a hole. So that's how you get the hollow box here. And then you can put slots for wires. And, I designed this little box in probably about 30 minutes. And then I print it out. And then I said, well, the lid doesn't fit quite as tight as I wanted to. Let me enlarge it by a 0.3 millimeters. And depending upon your 3D printer, there's variance between 3D printers. And just because it's designed for specific tolerances, it may not match the tolerances of your specific printer. So if things are going to fit together tightly and have good tolerances, it may require a little bit of iteration to change the design a little bit. And if somebody gives you an STL file to print out, it may not fit very, very good. So I'd say learn Tinkercad, and once you learn how to use it, everything I've built in Tinkercad, and I've built hundreds of things. I've got, 19 pages of little things that I've built to adapt to things, little cases for holders, little brackets that hold stuff that goes in my refrigerator to keep the condiments separated, and, holders for the batteries for my string trimmer, and just little utilitarian things. And once you learn how to use it, and just spend a couple hours learning how to use Tinkercad, and you'll never look back.
Fenwick?
Now I want a 3D printer. I never thought of printing things for my refrigerator. Mr. Sabato, could you hold up that device again? And then CJ, I need you to stand by. CJ, can you hold up? I know you right within arm's reach, you have a banana. I think you need to print that so it fits inside a banana. I was looking at what you were holding up. Anyway, we can get a two-shot of those two items. I think we've invented something here.
Side note.
That's all I have.
Side note on Courtney's comment on things for tools and batteries and string trimmers. If you haven't looked at getting custom holsters for your power tool batteries, and also a dummy battery that, like, it's the receiver of the battery that screws into the wall, and then you can use the battery to hang the drill on the wall. Man, is that like a flex. Mickey McAchore in chat mentioned that you should hit up JJ McKenna about designing that. He'd be good. And then JJ said, "Oi, hit me up." So I think that's the winner. Next question.
This question is coming in from Courtney, good in Hollywood, California. If anyone is using the Sony NP-F960 type batteries for powering their AV gear, have I got a deal for you?
What is going on, Courtney? Oh, can't hear you, Courtney. The props got in the way of the mute button.
Yeah, sorry. Both hands were busy. I couldn't click the mute button. I came across this the other day, and if you use these Sony N-type batteries, this is a big one. This is an 8800 milliamp hour. This has a lot of nice features to it, besides being able to power your sound devices. It has built-in USB-C charging. It has a charge state indicator there, and it has a output of USB-A type output, so you can use it as a power bank to charge your phone. The USB-C can be either an input for charging the battery or an output to power other things, and of course it clicks onto your lights and your cameras and your sound equipment. And I thought, wow, this is really, and it's heavy. A lot of times you'll buy these online because they're not Sony brand, and they'll come from China, and you'll find that they have, just 2 cells inside of them instead of the 6 cells it should be. But these are heavy. I've tested them, and they work. And here's the deal of the century. They're on sale right now. And I put these up here because I've bought all the ones I need. And it's $19 for 2 of them. So that's $10 a piece. These normally cost around $70 a piece.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And it's a limited time deal. I don't know if this is a mistake, but it's less than 50% off, and it's only the black ones. If you order the other colors, the green ones, they'll be $59 or something.
I noticed you waited 3 days to tell us. Last purchased April 7th.
That's because I already own 4. I bought all the ones that I'm going to need, so have at it, guys. I've got mine, and you guys can order some.
And they're not overheat. I'm always nervous about. I had a fire once with bad lithium-ion batteries. They're charging okay. They
haven't blown up yet. I've charged them off of a 5-volt source. Even they will charge. So if you have a power supply that charges your phone, just plug it into that USB-C, and it charges internally without an external charger needed. And so far, they work pretty good. They come with a handy plastic case and a charging cable, a USB-A to USB-C charging and source cable to charge your phone off of it or to use it as a power. I bought some to power my not yet and probably won't arrive for another 4 months Flow 4V from Behringer recorder, which I ordered from Sweetwater, and now it looks like it won't come till the end of July. But I'll have
PSA on batteries. in this case, it looks like they might have mislabeled the price to be selling it at $10 if they're selling a different color for $50. So that gives me a little bit not as scary feelings.
Well, here's the thing. The first time I went there, the green ones were on sale. And so I clicked on order, and they only had one left in stock, and then it didn't ship, and it said, well, it could come in 2 weeks. And so, but then they put the gray ones on sale. And I canceled the green ones and ordered the gray ones, and they came in 2 days. So,
well, hopefully this is a case of somebody overproducing and needing to liquidate their inventory. Do be wary, though, when you see a battery deal that looks too good to be true. And if you don't have a Courtney who can say that they've actually lived it, just be careful. When I was flying internationally and there, I think it was Korean Air made me. I had that nice Anchor 737, like not a cheap knockoff. They have an absolutely no lithium-ion power banks to be used in. Like you have to carry them in the cabin, but you can't use them to charge anything. They actually took at the little check-in desk. They took a piece of electrical tape and taped over the USB ports as a do not plug this in on the plane. So
do they think you don't know how tape works?
Apparently not, but it was just a strong suggestion. So I think depending on where you're buying things from, sometimes the cheaper knockoff batteries can have some thermal issues. So just be wary. Courtney, thank you for testing it so that we know this one's okay. Hey, if you've got questions, you can ask them 24/7 at askofficehours.global, and there's nothing to log into, nothing to sign up for there. All you got to do is go to askofficehours.global, put in your name, put in your question, and then we'll start filtering them in on our morning Q&A shows. Next question.
All right, this question is coming in from Guy Cochran in Seattle, USA. Are there any NAB releases?
Ooh, pre-NAB stuff, Guy. What's the good word?
Well, we're waiting for Blackmagic's announcement, which is in 3 days. That'll give us a lot. But what I've seen so far, just a few things. Haivision has a new encoder, which slash decoder. So in the past, you would have to get either an encoder or a decoder. And now they're coming out with this one at NAB that's the F1 chassis, the F4 or the F18. And you could put these blades in that have two SDI or 2110 slots, and so you can go in and out of the same box. And these aren't cheap. I heard the price; it's under 10,000. How about that? I'll say that. But this one was like 11 or 12,000 for an X4. So for those of you that want to do SRT, I know Jonas has a couple of these, Tucker and Jeff Keithley. So for those that play in the big leagues, and I get feeds from these from some big local companies where we get. They're encoding there, and then I'll decode with something like SRT Mini Server. But that's an exciting one. We've also got a new switcher from Roland that's already been announced, a $1,899 V1 4K that looks pretty sweet. It does have only HDMI, not SDI, but for those of you that might have a need, it's a nice device. And then the other thing that I've seen is, it leaked and then they shut it up pretty quick. But yesterday there was a Blackmagic Ursa Cine Immersive IP100 on here, and they cleaned it up, but it accidentally got leaked. So we'll see what the IP100, maybe it just stores direct to an external hard drive. So I bet you that'll be on the announcement in 3 days.
Yeah, those
That's it so far.
You look at that immersive camera. I got the chance to be on a shoot with one, and the storage blades for those just look. It just feels like you're like putting a magazine into something. It's like it's this big thing. We had it within 10 feet of open flame, and everyone was sweating. We weren't near the flame, but we were living vicariously through the camera. Exciting stuff. We are going to have some folks at NAB. We're not doing any sort of big broadcast as of right now for this year, but there are a couple of us getting together. So if you're going to be at NAB and you want to meet up, check us out on Discord. There is a thread in there so you can we can try and coordinate. We are going to be doing some stuff in after hours and wherever we can, but we're very excited to have a small presence there. So stay tuned for that this year. Next question.
This question is coming in from Rajan Chandel in Los Angeles. Thoughts on this new live streaming camera? And there's a link to BH Photo and Video.
What is the Yanugo YN433? It sounded like a Jeopardy clue. Chris?
this is one of those things where it's like, this looks like pretty interesting. It's just a little small micro 4/3 camera. It's got HDMI and UVC, and it's got like security, so you can like screw in the USB-C. Like there's just some things that it's like, this is super interesting. Except that, I mean, the brand is a known brand, but not known for high quality stuff. So it also like advertises being run by Android 10, and I don't know why you would need Android on a camera. But like, I'm super intrigued by just like a simple like camera that I could put up here that's cheap. It's just, you can put on a decent lens. You can get kind of a nice quality, but I don't need to carry it anywhere. It's just a box camera for sitting on top of my computer. So it's a super interesting idea. I don't
Liberty?
know if,
I was actually going to ask Chris. I know them for lights. So is there more? Because it's just an interesting segue into now doing cameras. If this is their first,
they have a lot of like photography type stuff, right? Like lights. I think this might be their first camera, or maybe they've done one before. They're certainly not known for their cameras, but they're in the space, but not in the camera space so much.
Okay, interesting.
Fenwick?
Somebody needs to pull that soundbite of Chris Sabato going, it's a known brand, but not known for this.
Courtney, go ahead.
Yano. I looked at all the pictures, and not one of them showed the back of the camera. Is there a display in the back so that you can use it for lining up your images? I was curious if it says it's Android based. That's why I thought maybe the display is powered.
It does not
by
appear
Android.
that way. Looks like there's
But
just
they
a battery slot.
Is that the back of it? Are we seeing
Yeah.
behind it there? Okay, so mystery solved. You're going to need an external monitor to plug into it to frame it. And that always is a disadvantage for those box cameras. I always find that you get out in the field, you go to point it, and you go, well, I got to go back to my computer to take a look at it and see how it's pointed, and then come back to the camera and, or plug a camera into it, or plug a monitor into it to use as a viewfinder.
I
Except
like
I don't
those
think
USB jacks, though.
I don't think that's what this is intended for. I think this is like a webcam, like an alternative to a webcam. And a display in the back of a camera for a webcam is of no use. And I'm intrigued by it.
No, but one flips out and faces you is highly useful, as I can tell you.
And the funny thing is the limitation of 4K 24. It's like, for a webcam? Fenwick? I'm sorry, Alexander?
I would steer clear of this. I mean, I love the Micro Four Thirds camera format. The lenses are a lot less expensive, but for a little bit more than that, you can get like what I've got here is I've got a Lumix GH5S, and I bought that refurbed from a local camera shop with warranty. And for what they're charging for the body of that camera, first of all, a Sigma 30 millimeter prime lens, which is what I'm using here, costs as much as that camera body. So and like everyone says, you got no screen there, and I get it's trying to be a webcam, but the other question is we don't also know the reliability. We don't know how well it will work when you put an autofocus lens on it. So, for example, like if I put a Sigma lens on it, how good is the autofocus going to be on that camera? How is it going to react? Those are all things that we don't know. So maybe someone out there is using it successfully. I don't know. But until I see someone with real world experience who's been using it for 6 months, who can tell me with certainty that they are having a good experience with it, I would stay clear of that. And I would much rather buy a refurbed Panasonic Lumix camera and stick a decent Sigma lens on it.
If you're finding office hours valuable, then I like to say you can give some value for value. Go to officehours.global/donate is a great way to support the show. Think about it. What was the show worth to you this week? Did we save you time? Did we save you money? Did we help you solve a problem? And that's different for everybody, but you tell us. We run on community support, and we appreciate every bit of it. Head over to officehours.global/donate and help us out. Next question.
All right, this one is from Harold Williams in Portsmouth. House of Worship with an extensive video library would benefit from AI indexing and categorizing the content and even reusing it. How is this coming along for Office Hours YouTube content? Would it work on Vimeo?
Guy?
Yeah, our project's coming along. It's a lot more challenging than you would think because we did something called diaritization, which means that you pick the people and you have to name them with their voice. So this would have been done pretty quickly. In fact, I went ahead and just grabbed through the API, the YouTube API, I logged in and I made an app that pulled down all the auto captions. So when it pulled it all down, it was 174 million characters, and I put it in a Supabase database, and I gave it to our friend Chirig. And here's one example of, and he did this pretty quick, where now these things you can
super
search.
Quick. Can you give background on what the project is for those of us who don't know?
Yeah, so the idea is that we take all the back catalog of every Office Hours ever done and put it on the website so that all these pages are indexed so that Google can crawl them. And so same with the LLM. So the idea is, like in this example, where I made a different version, which looks like this, where it would actually create a page. Let me go up here. So it would create a page. Let me pull. That's not it. It would create a page for every single episode. So it would look like this. So when I say view on wall, it would have its own unique web page that could be indexed with the full transcript, and it would get prettied up. But this is an example of what Google would see so that it could crawl, so you would have a sitemap and you would hit that page. So when somebody searched the word NDI, SRT, mimoLive, beta, like Alexander talked about today, boom, it would appear inside of Google. So that would it work for a house of worship? This tool that I made, you could put in any URL, so it could be a Vimeo URL, and it would automatically transcribe it. Now, that one costs 38 cents per minute because it's using Whisper AI. So if you know enough about how to program using Gemini or any of these tools, you can ask it to build something like this for you. And using Whisper, you would put in an API key and it would just go and do this transcription with amazing accuracy. So the YouTube auto stuff is not great. It's like 85% accurate, especially for terms like technical terms that we use. But for Whisper AI, it's like 95% accurate. So it's totally amazing. So if you jump into After Hours, I could discuss this further, or make it a Sunday question, and I could show a little more behind the scenes. It's a fun project. It's one where we had to ask another community member who has a 5090 card, and he'll help save us about $1,000. And because Whisper would cost us about $1,000 worth of processing, and he's got a 5090 in spare time, so he's been going through all of them, but then the diarization part's taken a lot of time, a lot more time than we ever thought, because there's been a lot of panelists over the years, and every single one has to be matched.
And I appreciate, Harold, that your question is about AI indexing and offering the original content for reuse. It's not about creating an answer engine. It's more about helping someone say, oh, I watched an episode of Office Hours, or I attended a service at a house of worship, and they talked about this, but I don't remember it. And I find this on Office Hours too. Like, we were talking about NDI, and I can't remember which episode it was, and I find myself going into Gemini and saying, hey, look at the Office Hours shows from the last 2 weeks and show me all the places that we talked about NDI. And then it gives me links with timestamps, and that's really valuable. I don't want the LLM to answer the question about NDI. I want the LLM to help me find where my panel of experts here who actually have real-world scars and experience can give you those things. So I'm happy that the conversation around these types of projects has gone away from creating the answer engine and more towards helping with discoverability. Next question.
Brian Taylor in Washington, D.C. asks, is Bluetooth a viable option for moving away from the currently dwindling wireless production microphone frequency options?
Ronnie?
I would say that Bluetooth is probably, in my opinion, at the bottom. Then you have Wi-Fi based ones, 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. And there's a lot of options in the Wi-Fi category from both DJI and many. And then above that is UHF, and I would hesitate to call anything Bluetooth a production tool. For your own podcast or controlled environment, of course, you can use something like a DJI mic that is Wi-Fi based. But I would not go back to using Bluetooth. They just cause problem for us here in my area. And one of the things that goes as a saying here in office hours is buy once, cry once, and I would definitely go UHF if the budget allows it. Sennheiser and Shure are really good brands to look at. EWD is one of those that we are using from Sennheiser. Just make sure you get the correct frequency band for those UHF areas so that it fits which UHF TV channels is available in your region, and that's the most important when you're buying UHF.
And then Mickey McAchore mentions that in the U.S., wideband systems and WMAS are good solutions for those of us who are in the U.S. Alexander? Yeah, dollars.
So you asked the question, is Bluetooth a viable option? Absolutely not. So if you're having problems with frequency coordination dropouts on your UHF system, what you shouldn't do is go to a much inferior technology and that's cheaper and less reliable like Bluetooth, because what uses 2.4 gigahertz? Well, every single audience member with a cell phone that has Bluetooth radios blasting away, all your IoT devices that are blasting away with that, and all your Wi-Fi access points. So that's not what you want to do. So I don't know what you're using for wireless, Brian, but Shure just announced they've just refreshed the SLX-D Plus. So this is the new revision to the SLX-D line, which I quite like. This is kind of my baseline recommendation where people should start out with wireless. And the reason for that is because it supports a wide range of frequencies, a very high bandwidth. In fact, they improved this. They brought technology from the much more expensive Axient systems down to here. So normally with the SLX-D systems, how they sold these things, they actually had different product SKUs with different frequency bands. So there were three different bands. There's J52, H55, and G58. Okay, so they've gotten rid of all that, which is kind of confusing. They now have this new unified G57 frequency band, which supports all the frequencies that the previous three product SKUs support and more. So it is more frequency robust and diverse. And they've made a lot of other improvements, like the ability to update the firmware on the body packs remotely, which you couldn't do before. It had to be done line of sight with IR, which is incredibly cumbersome. And they've made other feature enhancements. It's got this new D-feedback feature built in. And of course, because they have network ports on the back of the receivers, you can wirelessly coordinate these using their free Workbench software as well. They do have a built-in scan function too for beginners that works decently well, called Guided Frequency Setup. And if you connect the nice thing too is if you get the rack mount versions of these, by the way, they actually have a new quad channel version of this receiver. They have both a Dante and non-Dante version of this. And if you connect them to a network switch and you use Guided Frequency Setup, what you're going to find is that it will auto pick all the clean it'll find clean frequencies in the space. It'll auto assign them to each receiver, and then the only thing you have to do is take the transmitters and then use the IR sensor and sync them, and then you've got working audio. So that's a quick and dirty way to get up and running. So I would look at the SLX-D Plus line. If you've got Shure BLX, PGX, PGXD, any of those non-digital or older systems that have built-in antennas, you're going to really want to upgrade and go with this if budget permits, or if not, hire any of the better lines like QLX-D, the next one after this. You get better quality body packs. You don't get the cheaper plastic ones. So replaceable antennas, those are all things to consider. So stay away from Bluetooth.
Courtney?
Yeah, I concur with what everybody else has said. Bluetooth is crowded, 2.4 gigahertz mode. It doesn't penetrate well. It's limited a lot of times in frequency response because they design Bluetooth LE stuff to work with long battery life, and to do that, they limit some of the frequency response sometimes. Also, they has a tendency to pair when you don't want it to pair with something you don't want it to pair with, like your phone or your laptop or anything else that's been paired with it previously. And suddenly you'll find it has switched from the receiver that you want it to go to your phone, So there's all those problems of Bluetooth. So go with something with a dedicated UHF Wi-Fi frequency.
Hey, if you're around this evening, we have a pretty exciting thing going on in after hours. We're going to be doing an Artemis 2 watch party for Splashdown. That's scheduled for Splashdown is scheduled for Eastern Time, 8:07 this evening. That's 5:07 Pacific. So if you are interested in hanging out with the rest of us nerds and watching some space stuff, come in and check out After Hours. That's going to wrap us for today. Thank you so much to the incredible panel for showing up today. It was great to see a nice, healthy, robust, crowded panel. I love a crowded panel. Also, thank you so much to our producers for asking such great questions and helping take advantage of the expertise that we have here. You do drive the show. We talk about what you ask about, and we can't do it without you. Also, speaking of people that we can't do it without, thank you to the incredible back-end crew for hours before the show, getting everything set up, making sure that the stream is healthy, making sure that everybody looks and sound good, and working on the weekends to try and push us forward to the next big thing as we're trying to embrace all these new cutting-edge technologies from great partners. It's great to see everyone every single day. It's a lot traversal today. Had we gone around and asked these questions in person, so, a little bit of travel, would have been 17,000 miles. That's 28,000 kilometers, 138 million bananas for scale. Thanks, everybody. See you in After Hours. In space.
I almost wanted to use this GIF for that question about using Bluetooth.
Your voice said it like that's accurate.
I'd like to. David Brady in the chat was like, no Bluetooth. And then JJ took and was like, no, bad dog. Don't do it. Gotta name a dog. Name a dog Bluetooth. It's very confusing. Wow, I can't believe they're already going to be home. I feel like they left yesterday. Only a quarter.
How many questions did we go through?
We had an insanely
13.
lively chat today.
Lucky 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the chat was on fire.
Because Liberty was here.
I couldn't keep up with it. It was like just kept scrolling and moving all the time.
12 and a half.
12, yeah. The first one's just the check-in one. But great to see everybody.
Well, we answered
It was
it.
awesome.
We had some leftover. I had a cool demo prepped for the 3D splat, but we can wait.
I had a cool one prep for the
Are they
Starlink
Gaussian
one.
splats?
Yeah, it was this cool
that a
app
case?
that came out in the App Store, and it took these 48 images of this tricycle,